My name is Mandy, and I'm with the Fort Wayne Dance Collective. Today we're going to try a flow yoga in your own space at home. You could use a yoga mat, you could use a towel, or maybe if you just have a hard surface so that your hands and feet feel stable beneath you. And I can give you guys a second to grab that, or you can also pause this video. If you have access to a block, you may want to grab that as well, but I'll try to guide you through some options where if you don't have a block, you still feel safe and supported. So we'll go ahead and get started, and whatever space that you've decided to use, you'll come into what we call a child's pose. Your options for your child's pose are that you could put the big toes together behind you. You could also have your knees together if that's an option. I personally like to have my knees have some space between me so that I can allow my belly to seat in between that space and connect my forehead to the mat. Your fingertips could reach out in front of you. Another option is that they could reach out behind you, whatever feels good to you. We're just going to stay here and breathe for a little bit. And while you find your breath, I'm going to read you a little bit of food for thought. When you're finding your breath, you can make sure that it doesn't need to change. Nothing about it can change if you don't want it to. It can be slow and steady. Maybe you notice something about your breath that maybe it's not slow and steady and it's time to bring it back down. During my yoga classes, I always like to read a little bit from this book I had called The Daily Book of Positive Quotations by Linda McComb. Today's date of recording this is March 20th, and our food for thought on this day is about trying to be happy. A quote is listed at the top of this page, and the quote says, "If only we'd stop trying to be happy, we'd have a pretty good time." A little bit more about that quote. We can spend a lot of time, money, and energy trying to make ourselves happy. Eating fancy meals, going on expensive vacations, throwing big parties, buying nice clothes. We think that these things will bring us happiness, but often our happiness is short-lived, lasting about as long as it takes to get heartburn from eating too much, return to work from vacation, clean up after the party, or realize that we don't look as nice in our clothes as we would have hoped. If we could learn to find happiness from moment to moment in the small things of life, we'd always have a pretty good time. So maybe at this time on your mat, you can think to yourself that you don't need something outside of yourself to make you happy. Happiness is a choice, and you can make that choice under almost any circumstance. And I think you all have made a pretty good choice already today by trying to do something for you by taking this yoga class. While you're in your child's pose, we can move our fingertips to the right of our mat, trying to get some movement into our right side body and our left side body. Take a couple inhalations and exhales here. And walk ourselves to the middle of your mat. Slowly walk yourself to the other side. Creating lots of space in your right side body while you stretch. Walk your hands back to the middle. We're going to start to roll up through our spine, one vertebrae at a time. We can lift our hips off of our heels as we roll up all the way to stack our hips on top of our knees and lifting our spine nice and tall. If you do have a block, this would be a good place to bring it closer to you. We're going to try a camel pose. You may want to make some fists with your hands and find the small of your back and open up your clavicle as you reach up and back. Find your breath, the same breath that you were using at the beginning of class. And recover. We're going to use our block to support us. Reach out your left leg or your right leg. It really doesn't matter what you do at home. Just remember which one you do decide to use. do so that we don't keep stretching the same leg. And supported with the same arm as leg, you're going to reach up and over towards your leg. Nice stretch over the side of your body, making sure that our shoulders are stacked. So we don't want to be this way. They're nice and stacked over. They're really opening, and if it feels good to you, you can bring your drishti, your gaze, all the way up to the ceiling. If that puts a strain on your neck, you could look down or front. Couple breaths here. See if you can go a little further. Lift up in your hip. And recover. Let's do a camel pose in between. Back to our fists. Pushing in and up. And recover, flow to the other side. Same arm as leg. Reaching the leg out, reaching your arm up and over. And if your drishti or gaze wants to look up to the ceiling, allow it to do so, keeping your shoulders stacked on top of your other shoulder. Find your breath. Couple more breaths here. Flow back through your camel. This time, we're going to clasp our hands behind us, or if you want to use those punching fists again, to try to find some space. And recover. Move our block, make your way back to the mat in another child's pose. This one might feel different. You might have more space this time. You're going to reach your right arm through, needling it, and allowing your shoulder to really press into the mat and open up. And you can say peekaboo under your other arm. Reconnect with your breath. Use the weight of your body to really push into that shoulder. Switching, flowing to the other side, reaching those fingertips long, needling your other hand through to stretch out your shoulder and peek underneath that arm. Relax your shoulders, make sure that they're far, far away from your ears. One more breath here. And start to slowly come up to all fours. We're going to do what is most likely your favorite thing to do at home, ab work. Right here, let's just make sure that we can engage our core. And by doing that, we're going to be able to stabilize ourselves for the rest of our practice. So you can really pull up and get into our cat, creating some space in our back, all the way from our upper back to our lower back. And then allow your belly to drop down into a cow, opening up the clavicle once more, shoulders separating. Breathe and flow as fast as you'd like, or as slow as you'd like in between your cat and your cow. Noticing your belly, being soft in your cow. Making sure to use your breath as you're flowing. And if you want, you can do a little fishtail. If you move to the right, your head can move and check out your tailbone. Switch it to the other side, get some flow in there. And then we're going to come to a neutral spine. From here, we can reach our right leg long into a tiger stretch. So here, what you would want to do, scoop up your palms, start making that really nice yoga connection, your bandha, and press into your fingertips. It's almost kind of like you have cupcake icing underneath your palms, so your palms are scooped up. And then you can press back into your heel, so your heel is going towards the wall behind you, kind of like your heel is dropping off of a step. And switch to the other side, little tiger stretches, warming up the calves, because we're about to use our toes to put some weight Move as fast or slow as you want switching between your right and left legs. And then we'll come back to a neutral spine when we're done with that. We're going to reach our right leg long one more time, some energy in our toes. And if you're feeling adventurous, you can lift your opposite arm as leg off the ground. Your drishti or your gaze should be a little bit in front of your mat. And we can take it even down and up and find our breath. Again, moving as fast or slow as we want. The goal is stability, not speed. Maybe we'll just try that 3 times. Whenever you're done with your 3, with your hand on your mat or not on the mat, up to you, you can switch to the other side. So you'd want to find your balance with your leg first, and then if you're feeling adventurous, you can lift up. With your gaze in front of your mat, and lifting and lowering for 3. Find your breath. And come back down. Great job. Can we add on? Trying the same thing. You can do exactly what you did do, or if you didn't lift your arm before and you want to try to this time, you can. So we have our 3. At the end of our 3, we're going to stay. And we can either stay here or we can even explore the space to the side. 3 times. Using our core, engaging our core. And flow as fast or slow as you want to the other side. 3 times. We have one more little ab exercise right here on our mats. We're going to find that scoop in our palms again. Tuck our toes under, and if it's available to you, you can lift your knees up, and we're going to hover. Re-find your breath. This would also be a good time if you need to stretch out your wrists to do that, or to re-find that child's pose. And lower down. If you didn't get a chance to stretch out your wrists yet and you'd like to, what that would look like is maybe folding over. And feel free at any time to move into a stretch for your wrists or your child's pose. If you're up for it, we might try that hover 2 more times, reaching our fingertips back out, shoulders stacked over your hands, hips stacked over your knees, tuck your toes and hover. Connect with your breath. Think about your elbows going out, lower down. So we're going to spiral those elbows out. I think that's a good visual. If you want, you can stretch out your wrists one more time. We're going to try our hover one more time. Feel the fire burn. We might hold it a hair longer. Ready to reach our fingertips back out, tucking your toes, and lift. Tell yourself, yes, you can. Lift your hip bones up and back. Push into your mat, into your downward facing dog. Here, let's make sure that your head drops. Take a peek at your belly. You can pedal out your legs, bring some movement or flow into your body. Most likely, your heels are not going to be able to reach to the ground. Our goal is to get our tailbone sky high. Push back a little bit more. Re-find the cupcake icing underneath your hands. If you want, you can keep on pedaling out those legs. First down dog of our class. And then look to the top of your mat with your eyeballs. And you can start to walk your hands and your feet towards one another. Slight bend in the legs. From here, we're going to fly up our spine. Our head reaches for the front of wherever we are. Our hands paint the sides of your walls. Come in through heart center to our mountain pose. How are we feeling? Hopefully good. I'm just going to pretend you said yes. And while we're here, we're just gonna make sure that most of our weight is on the balls of our feet and just a hair on our heels. We don't want all of our weight on our heels because we'll most likely fall back. So go ahead and take a second while we're here. Adjust yourself, as I just did, and reconnect with your mat, finding that connection, that bandha with your feet. You can shift to the right. You can shift to the left. And just see where your weight is. We're going to try a couple of flows. We'll reach back up to the ceiling, open your heart, empty all the way down. Your knees are slightly bent here, just to make sure that we're not putting any strain on the knee or lower back. Here we can do a halfway lift, try to find some flatness in your back. And lower back down. Find that connection with your hands and walk your feet back out to your plank. At any time, you do not need to take a plank. You could always go to all fours. When we do our chaturanga, it's kind of like a reverse push-up. You could also do this with your knees down and have your elbows come in. Or you could stay in your plank and have your elbows come into your side. Either way, we want to take this nice and slow. Untuck our toes. Make sure that we have some happy knees. Reach our forearms forward and lifting up, not breaking any connection in the back of our neck into our Sphinx pose. If this feels pretty good to you, you can stay here, or you could even work towards creating some more movement. And this really helps out our hip flexors, a really nice stretch here. Wherever you are, if you're here or in your Sphinx pose, you're going to tuck your toes, reach your hips up and back into that downward facing dog. Again, pedal it out. Are you holding your breath? Check in with yourself. Breathe. Pressing both heels back, your hip bones up. Look to the front of your mat, walk your hands towards your feet, feet towards your hands. And we'll hang out here, nice, relaxed knees. Reverse flow up to the top, paint the walls with your fingertips. And in. We'll take that a couple times. We might add a little bit more upward lifts and whatnot. All the way up, empty. I'm going to talk a little bit less this time just to give you guys some opportunities to find your own breath. Halfway lift. Chaturanga with your knees on the floor or with your toes. Sphinx or cobra. Tuck your toes, downward facing dog. Up to the front of your mat, walk your hands and feet towards one another. Forward fold, here we'll do a halfway lift. Forward fold, reverse swan dive all the way to the top. We'll go that speed one more time, back to our Samastiti, mat pose. All the way up and empty. Lift, forward fold, find the bandha, the connection, walk your feet out. Gazing in front of your mat, lowering down. Tucking your toes under, happy knees. Looking forward to the front of our mat, we walk. Forward fold, halfway lift, forward fold, all the way to the top. Going this speed should create a little bit of heat, hopefully wherever you are. One last time, lifting up, exalted mountain pose, emptying the body. Halfway lift. Forward fold, create that connection, walking your feet out into our plank. Lowering down. Happy knees push into the tops of your toes. Shoulders away from your ears. Before we come up, we're going to do something a little bit different. Heel toe your feet out to the outsides of your mat and allow this as an opportunity to bend even further. Here we have a couple options. You could just, if your hands aren't quite at the floor, you might need to support yourself on your knees or your shins. You could reach out in front of you. If your body allows, you could reach behind you. Or you could even take a bind, lifting up your toes, placing your palms underneath you in a gorilla pose. But we're just going to hang out here. While you're hanging out here, you're going to want to make sure that your hips are reaching up to the ceiling. I like to pretend that somebody's behind me, kind of supporting me so that my weight is truly over my toes, not over my heels. And lifting all the way up to the ceiling with our hips. Make sure to reconnect with your breath. If you're in a bind, let go. Release the palms of your hands back to the floor. We're going to reach our hands wherever we are, even if they're on our knees, kind of swivel them to your right. If you want, you can bend the opposite leg, really stretch the side body. Flowing through center to the other side. And if you want, you can bend, really get into that side body. And back to center. Place some weight on your hands if it's available to you. If not, use your core to help you get your heel, toe back to your toe mounds and heels touching. Here we're going to take our Utkatasana, bending our knees, allowing our hips to drop back, reaching our elbows and our ears to be on the same plane. Shoulders away from ears, drishti or our gaze in front of us at the tops of our mats or beyond. Get a little bit lower. And nice job. Back to our mountain pose. We're going to reach our right leg back into our warrior one. We want to make sure that this is a nice big stance, and we'll double check ourselves. I might not have even stepped out as much as I would have liked. We want to make sure that our knee is in between our big and middle toe, and then it kind of seems like our hips and shoulders want to go back. But instead, we really want to wrap everything squared off and make sure that it's forward. Your expression with your arms don't need to be here. They could be behind you to help you open. You could do a goal post if you're really missing sports right now. Whatever feels good to you. Connection with all 10 toes. So that makes that pinky toe back there needing to be on the floor, not rolling up. We're going to turn it into a lunge. So that hip is definitely driving forward. And we're going to spiral towards the knee. Make sure that the back heel is up. So we're not pressing back into it like we were before with our tiger stretches. We're pressing forward, so you're only on your ball of your foot. You can stay here or reverse, connecting your hand to your leg, reaching up and back. Take a couple breaths. Back through your twist. And we're going to do a little cartwheel of the hands, open everything up to a warrior two. You should feel this leg starting to burn, potentially, depending on where we're at with our fitness levels. And that's okay, because sometimes when there's some movement or some feelings in our body, that means change. So that could be good, but definitely make sure that you're listening to your body. Drop your shoulders, drishti or gaze over the middle finger. Reverse our warrior. Reconnect with your breath. Back through warrior two. Connecting our arms behind us, clasping the hands, reach, and take both of our shoulders to the inside of the ankle. here. Unclasp. Start to use your core to come up. Back for our warrior two. Okay, this one's going to be a toughie. We're going to push with the back leg and see if we can meet in Utkatasana, our chair pose. Whew, that was a toughie. And if that was not successful for you, that's okay because it taught us something. All right, let's come back to our mountain pose. Shake it out if you want. That was a lot of action for our legs. You could do the yoga pant pull-up. You can check and see how the kiddos are doing, whatever you need to do. You can roll over your feet. You can take a sip of water. That might be a good one. But you do have another side to do. So, we're back in our mountain pose. And from here, our first thing is to move into our warrior one. And making sure that our heels are lined up with one another. And if you want to take a different expression with your arms that's different than the last time, that's totally okay. Breathing. Steady the breath. When you're ready, turn that leg over, press forward into your toes, and find that twist. Noticing that it might be easier on one side or harder on the other. Our bodies are all different. And if you want, reverse our water wheel. Flowing back through our twist. And then doing a nice little fun cartwheel to our warrior two. Nice long backs, gazing over our drishti, feeling really strong and powerful at this time in our lives, maybe even saying to ourselves that we are strong, we are healthy, we are powerful, and we can overcome anything. Reverse your warrior. Recover. Find that clasp, reaching it back and forward. Coming back up. Back to our warrior two. Here's the fun one. Push so much with your back foot that we can get back to our Utkatasana. Can we go a little bit lower? Engaging your inner thighs so that they feel like they're squeezing together. Get a little lower. Weight mostly in our heels for this guy. And coming back up to our mountain pose. Nice job. This would be a good time to maybe grab a friend who lives in your same household with you, or a kiddo. If you'd like, you could also go to a different spot in your house for support, because we're going to try some balances. So I say the kiddo or somebody else in your household, because if you don't decide to use an object for support, you could use your friend for support. So if you have a friend, go ahead and maybe connect your hands to the smalls of their back, or if you have an object that you think you need to hold on to, find that now. Or if you're solo and practicing by yourself, that's okay too. So wherever you are, you can connect or reach out or try this down, but we're just going to first try balance. Hopefully you don't knock each other down. Lifting either leg, but maybe you two should have the same leg lifted. Driving our heel back, can we take a warrior three? Move nice and slowly, and if you need to take a peek at me first, our warrior three looks like our heel and our head being in the same position. So I'll stay here a little bit longer if you need time to get back into it. So are you both over at the same time? Can you both come up at the same time? Use your knee to drive you in first, and it almost picks you back up. And place it back down. And we'll do it again on both sides too if you're just figuring this out. Lifting up whichever leg you haven't used yet, finding your balance together or alone. And driving that heel to the back wall. Toes facing down to the floor. Knee comes in first and lifts you up. I hope you guys are having some fun with this. Let's try it one more time. If you want, you could even switch to be on the other side of your partner. Or if there's a bunch of you doing this, find a different spot in your line. Here we go, reconnect, and lifting a leg. It's the same leg as the person next to you. Reaching back. Reconnect with your breath. And knee comes in first. And coming back down. Lifting up to the other side. And reaching back. And through. And down. Good job. Everybody can spread out at home. Do one last forward fold. Empty that all out. If your hands can go to the floor, you can help pedal your legs, or if you want to get your hips with your hands, pedal out your legs, feel some stretching in the backs of your legs, your hamstrings, your glutes. We're going to stretch out our toes a little bit. We're going to drop our tailbone to our heels, and notice where our heels need to come off the floor because of our Achilles. Here, we're actually going to keep pushing our heels over the balls of our toes to stretch. This might be very intense, so you might not be able to stay here very long. So you can push back if you need to and wait a second and then try again. But what we're trying to do is if we wear a lot of high heels and we're gripping our toes a lot, or we really just don't stretch our toes enough at all, this is a really good one for us. But it is intense, so do what you need. Maybe one more time. And then we're going to slowly find our way to a seated position. We're going to take what a little fire log pose here, a little hip opener. We're going to pick up our right leg, and if it's available to us, try foot over knee, knee over foot. It could also be an opportunity for us to be here, or you could even, if you need to, try to be in a butterfly position. If we're in our fire log pose, we want to make sure that both of our heels are equally grounded into your mat. Finding some space in our shoulders, lifting up nice and tall. And if you'd like, you can walk your hands forward. Allowing your chest to reach up and over your mat, your drishti or your gaze in front of you. Reconnect with your breath. And walk yourself back up. The leg that was on the bottom is going to straighten out. And we didn't do a tree pose while we were balancing, so we'll take it seated. Your block is here, so you could use it if you have very long arms like I do. If not, we can just use our hands. So what we're going to do is reach up our opposite arm as leg and reach it forward. My fingertips come way past my foot, so I need to put the block underneath my leg and continue reaching. But what we want to do here is make sure that our shoulders are far away from our ears and that we are pressing our toes up to the ceiling. So this is not a stretch that you would want to do at the beginning of class by having your toes back. If you did do this, you want to relax your toes just because you always want to make sure that your hamstrings are warmed up before you do any kind of deep stretching. Find your breath. And we'll cover. You can leave your block down there if you use that. Start to find your way to lifting your crown very tall. Reach that foot up and over your knee. Plant the same arm as leg behind you. Opposite arm in the air, connecting the foot to the ground if possible. And we could take a bind. So you could, what I would do, I'm going to redo that guy because I was about to go. What we want to do instead is twist first, then make the connection. And your posterior gaze can go to the back of the room. Nice job. And we'll come into a seated forward fold, both legs forward. If your block is still there and you'd like to grab it, you can. And put your blocks down, help walk yourself up. And now we're going to have, I think it's this, the other leg on top. Whichever leg you didn't just do. It's always the tricky part. And usually I would ask my class, but since I'm solo, I'm on my own. So we're going to reach our fingertips out. You'll probably figure out about right now if you already stretched this leg, because you'll begin to feel it. And reach out very long, shoulders back. You might feel your hip bones starting to disconnect with your mat, but this is a really good time to really press them back. Let all of your anxiety, your tension, your fear release. Just sink into the mat, surrender. And walk yourself up. The bottom leg reaches out, nice and long. Opposite arm is leg, reaches out. Same arm is leg, reaches behind. And reach forward. If your block is there, you can use it to connect. Shoulders away from your ears. Anytime you're in a kind of bind like I'm in, where I'm holding a block and using that to assist me with my asana, think about it as not using the bind to crunch inward, but to create space. Pushing so much outward that it actually creates the space that you need. And recovering. Taking that leg, crossing it over, same arm as leg, supported, pushing some energy out with that other leg, reaching up, twisting first to find that connection. Then we can place some energy into that bind. Start to untwist. And I'm going to replace our really fun, feel free to shake out your legs, replace our forward fold with some abs. Take this as you'd like, however you need to. I'll give you a couple different options. So you can start to walk our hands in closer to our hips. You can even place your hands behind you and take a couple windshield wiper knees first. Get some movement in there as we start to wind down. But you can't wind down without doing some abs first. And we'll go ahead and move into a boat pose. Let's have some energy through our toes and reaching forward. If this is not an option, you can also touch your toes down and play with letting go there. Whatever feels good to you. We're going to lower down in 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, onto your back on 1. From here, we'll roll over onto your belly if that's available to you. I'm going to come up and forward so that my back isn't towards you. And we're going to be on our belly. On our belly, we can lift up our right leg and push up and take a peek at it. Pressing into that banda in our hands one more time. Lower down. Switching to the other side. Lift, take a peek. Lower down. And we'll go each side one more time. Reconnect with your breath as you flow back and forth. Nice job. Place a cheek on the mat. We're going to do 3 rounds of a little lift. We're going to want to first make sure that our legs are touching, squeezing together. And then we're going to reach our palms behind us. And then I'm going to count down. And we're going to lift everything up in 3, 2, 1, lift. Lifting, reaching our toes, trying to touch. See if they can go a little bit higher. Reconnecting with your breath. Other cheek on the mat. Option to go for it again. Option to rest in 3, 2, 1, go. Smiling makes everything easier. Connecting with your breath also does not breathing as bad. And lowering down, placing the other cheek on the floor. Option to rest or option to go in 3, 2, 1. And lowering our cheek back onto the floor. It doesn't matter which side. You can bend your knees, lift your toes, and windshield wiper your legs back and forth. So it's kind of like what we did before, but not on our bellies. This would be a great time to roll back onto your back and practice a nice corpse pose, a good shavasana. During that time, I would recommend that you connect your mind with what you just did. So it might not necessarily be a time for you to meditate, but it would be a great time for you to recognize what work you just did in your body and calm the mind, focusing on what you just did and your breath. So go ahead and take some time to yourself to do that and to do any other asanas that you want to do today, any other poses. And thank you so much for joining us today, and check out some more videos on this page. Bye, guys.